Welcome to Bad Dog Agility, a podcast helping you reach all of your dog agility goals. Whether it's competing under the bright lights of the televised finals at Westminster or successfully navigating a homemade course in your own backyard, we'll bring you training tips, interviews, and news about the great sport of dog agility. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
The show starts with your hosts, Jennifer, Esteban, and Sarah.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Esteban.
And I'm Sarah, and this is episode 369. Today's episode is powered by Canine Handler Fitness with Liz Joyce, built for agility handlers who want to keep up with their dogs. With Liz's all-access pass, agility handlers at every fitness level can hop in right where they're at and move toward their specific goals. From building strength and balance to boosting speed and stamina, these short, effective workouts target exactly what you need on course. Your dog's ready. Are you? Head to caninehandlerfitness.com to get started today. Today's podcast is also brought to you by Clip and Go Agility. Clip and Go Agility has been innovating high-quality, unique agility products for over 15 years. Their goal is to move the sport forward by providing the safest possible equipment for our canine partners. They offer not only jumps, tunnels, and contact obstacles, but also many problem-solving training aids. Clip and Go understands how fitness plays a large part in our dog's overall safety and are pleased to also offer a variety of fitness products to meet your dog's conditioning needs. They include soft jump bumps, cavaletti jumps, VersaFit planks, fitness blocks, and paw pods. Check them out at clipandgoagility.com/fitness and use promo code BDA10 to receive 10% off any fitness products. Clip and Go Agility, because safety matters. Today, we welcome back to the podcast, Jen. We've only been back for one episode from our summer break, and Jen was not able to tape our previous episode because she was doing the thing that we're going to talk about today, which is Jennifer did a TED Talk. So welcome back from summer break, Jen. And
Yes.
Let's talk about your TED Talk.
Yeah, so the TED Talk was a very time and mentally consuming project that was quite different than I anticipated. And so I actually kind of came to you guys and said, let's do a podcast and let's talk a little bit about what it was, because I think so many people in and out of agility have heard what a TED Talk is, right? Like they know what a TED Talk is. So yeah, when you guys recorded the last podcast, I was actually out of town getting ready to present my TED Talk. And so since then, I have presented. The only way to see it so far at the point of putting this podcast out is to have been there live, but it will be available to watch at some point. They put it in through some editing and whatnot. So yeah, that's where I was off doing at the last podcast.
That is so awesome. And when Jen told us, and I can't even remember, I'm sure she'll fill us in a minute. I can't remember when she told us, but she said she was doing a TED Talk, and I was shocked. I was excited. I was surprised. I thought it was totally awesome. I think a lot of people are familiar with TED Talk, but it's like those talks. They're usually pretty short, and they have lots of famous people do them, and they have this big stage and these huge red letters, TED. And I don't know if you already knew this, Jen, but I had to look it up for this podcast. I was like, why is it called a TED Talk? I mean, I knew it was a TED Talk, and I have I guess I have a connotation of what a TED Talk means, but I didn't know officially. So I had to look it up, and it started out as technology, entertainment, and design. So it's like those three fields come together, and now they've kind of like branched out into some other topics. And so Jen, the one that you did, it was actually called like TED Sport.
Yes. Yeah. So TED Talks like kind of started as exactly as you said, kind of very broad, and it was just TED, TED Talks. And they kind of were just covering any and all of these three areas. And TED started in 1984, which was much longer than I had thought. When I actually started learning about the organization and everything. And since then, they have started to do a little bit more of like specialization. So this was the first ever one focused on sports. So it was actually
the first one?
The very first one. So it was actually called TED Sport, and they held it in Indianapolis, which is a super, super famous like sports city.
Yes,
right. Yes, which again, I learned a lot about because the whole conference was like a 4-day conference. But yeah, so this was the first ever TED Sport. So not only was it cool to be invited and have that opportunity, but to actually say like, hey, these people are considering agility into this sport category.
Right. Not entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they do different ones in different parts of the world. And there's rumor they were going to think about doing like a TED Pet and do a whole TED conference on all things like pet related. But like the fact that they saw this opportunity for sports and thought, hey, agility would be good for that, I thought was so cool for our sport, right? It's so cool for agility. That's honestly why I didn't say no.
Right. So what was your initial reaction? Like, when did you find out, like, who asked you, like, how did they get a hold of you? How did that happen?
Yeah. So the first email and communication that I received was actually March 2nd. And ironically enough, they contacted me through Bad Dog. They did not contact me through Incredipause. I got the email through Bad Dog. And it was a person named Terry. Their signature line wasn't from TED directly. So I was a little bit concerned about, like, is this a spam thing? What's happening? Hey, we're doing this TED sport. Would you be interested? And, you get a lot of emails, do you follow through with this one? So I wrote back and I was like, oh, I'm interested to learn more. And very quickly was able to set up a Zoom call and get more information. And I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and do this. Why not? Sounds like an opportunity. It was only going to be 3 hours away because honestly, again, from a timing standpoint, it wasn't great timing because it was actually only 3 weeks before my due date. So to go to Indianapolis, almost not, full, 8.5 months pregnant, almost 9 months pregnant, and do a TED Talk didn't exactly appeal to me. But I felt like it was like my duty as a agility ambassador. Right, if I said no and they left agility out of the first ever TED Sports, I was going to be so disappointed. I'm like, I have to do it. I have to agree to it. So yeah, it was all the way back in March. So almost 6 months before the actual TED event held place. It was early September. And once we got there, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but there were roughly about 25 presenters. And we were able to kind of talk to each other and be like, well, who invited you and who invited you and how did you get invited? And basically, TED got like all of their crew together and different people threw different names in the hat. And I was actually invited through more of like the production side of thing. Terry and his team used to do the filming and all the production work for the Great Outdoor Games. Oh, okay. So he's very familiar with agility and the sport of agility and had seen videos online of B from Westminster and thought, oh yeah, I'm familiar with agility. We know what this is. Like, let's reach out to Jen and see if she'd be willing to do it. So different people were kind of contacted through different organizers and parts of TED. And they covered in the like 24 to 25 of us that presented such an incredible, diverse group of presenters. And let me tell you that I just felt like the little fish in the big pond. They had some incredible athletes. They had Olympians. They had Guinness World Record holders. They had, people from all over the world. I would say about a third of the people, if not more, were not from the US. About a third of them, I would say almost 2/3 were not from the US and a third of them weren't English as the first language. And just people that have done such monumental things and come from third world country and have such incredible stories to sit there at dinner with these people and be like, yeah, I run my dogs through equipment was incredibly humbling. And to get to meet some of these people was quite remarkable. But yeah, so they reached out to me and I agreed to it. And very quickly, I found out that it was quite different than what I thought it was going to be. I got this email, hey, would you do a TED Talk? And in my mind, it was okay. I go on a stage, I present some topic, presumably about agility. They do what they do with it and I move on. As soon as I agreed to it and they put me in the lineup, you are immediately assigned to various personnel through TED to help you streamline the entire process. You are given a coach, which I thought when they said, are you going to do a TED Talk? I just had to like come up with it all on my own. And I just show up on whatever day they tell me and I present. I truly thought that's what it was.
Right.
I was assigned a coach. We had bi-weekly meetings. We had these Zoom meetings and conferences with the other presenters. Basically, we spent June writing kind of the outline for the TED Talk. July was spent then taking the outline and putting it into the talk, which they say to aim for between 10 and 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then August is spent memorizing. So you're supposed to have your talk done at early August, spend the month of August memorizing. And then we needed to be in Indianapolis on like September 8th. And that was the whole other thing, is not only did I not realize I was going to have all this assistance and these requirements and this fact checking and this whole team behind you, but it was part of an entire conference. I'm not sure what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just going to show up and present. But we actually had a check-in on Monday, and we did not leave until Friday. And it was a whole week of TED-related activities in the city. We were at a hotel, we had transportation, we had meals, there were workshops. There was an entire TED Sports app. People getting tickets, meet and greets with the other presenters, but meet and greets with those attendees who wanted to come to the theater and participate. So I very quickly got overwhelmed into exactly what a big deal this was going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started getting nervous. that's when I started to question my life choices. At that point, I went, oh, okay, this is a big deal. Like, they assign you coaches and they have an entire team. Part of the reason that your speech has to be done by August 1st is they have an entire team of fact checkers. Wow. So every element, every statistic, every fact that was in my speech had to be fact checked. Now, I wasn't giving a highly data-driven speech.
Right.
But there was a part in there where I was talking about course design. Mm-hmm. And I said that, it's actually, you never run the same course twice. You don't know until the day of the event that you get the course. Every course is different. You only get 8 minutes to study. And they actually came back and were like, no, that's not factually accurate. It is discouraged that a judge not reuse a course, but a judge can actually reuse a course, which I knew, right? My mom's a judge.
Right. But you're like making it digestible.
Exactly. And like, when have any of us ever run the same course twice? Like a judge might use it in New Jersey one weekend, in California the next. The exhibitor is not going to be across both.
Right.
They actually made me adjust that. I was not able to say that. I had to say, I forget the exact wording, but I was like, you almost never run the same course twice. Like, they didn't let me put that in. So there was fact checking, any slide, any video, any clip, either I had to own the rights to, or I had to get a press release or like a release from the person. So on my slides, because they like it to be visual, not too visual that it's distracting from the speech, but it's helpful. So I had to put a couple course maps up to kind of give them an idea of what a course map looks like. I had to get a written release from the judge to use their course map as permission. We played Bees winning Westminster run from 2022. Oh my, when I tell you the hoops to jump through to get access from both Westminster and Fox was insane. And we are still dealing with it. So we're in post-production and we're still dealing with it because Fox gave us permission, but Fox's contract with Westminster is only for 5 years. So they lose rights to it in 2027. Which means that at that, it gets released back to Westminster. And so since it will be on TED's website, I had to get releases from both parties. So I had to get Fox to give me release for that until 27, and then Westminster to give me release to it after that so that it can be on TED's YouTube pages and everything.
I could have given you my copy, for free.
Well, I did. I gave them the copy that I recorded from my cell phone, but it was very anticlimactic with no announcer. They wanted the official one where Terry Simons is calling it, and they're putting up the times. So we're still dealing with that. Luckily, the photos of my dogs, I just had cell phone shots of me and ribbons and stuff. I didn't use any action shots to get permission. So again, very quickly, I realized as they're going over all this exactly what a big deal it was. And then I got nervous all summer, working on my speech and going through revisions. I kind of felt pretty good about things. And then I showed up on Monday. And again, even though I kind of knew that the quality, the effort, the high-endness, I don't know that that's a word, that they put into this, I was like, oh my. Like when I say they like pick you up and there's shuttles and there's dressing rooms and you're at the nicest hotel in Indianapolis. And the first night, Monday night, we had dinner at the top level suite of the Indianapolis Speedway with the owners of the racetrack with this catered meal. I was like, I looked at my husband who went with me and I was like, oh no. I was like, this is like real. Like this is the real deal. And you don't get to pick what program or what block you present in. They tell you. So how it worked is there were 5 blocks of speakers. So Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, Thursday evening. And I was in the very last one on Thursday evening, which initially I didn't want. I wanted to be like kind of early. Right. And I was really glad I got to go in the later block because I got to watch all those other sessions. I got to kind of relax and settle in and see how it was going and how it was working for people. But just the care that they gave us and how kind everyone was and how supportive everyone was. All the activities, you had daytime activities, evening activities. It was very inclusive of the people who attended and got tickets, and a lot of very, very important and powerful people in sports. And so it was really cool to meet so many different people. And all the diversity across all the different talks that they did. So when it came time to Thursday afternoon, which was the final session, they had told me about halfway through the season prep, so maybe June to July-ish, that they actually thought rather than just doing a talk, they wanted to try to incorporate a demo.
Okay, that's what I was just about to ask, because when I saw the pictures, I was so surprised to see like some equipment and, a dog and everything. Like I literally thought you were just going to give a talk.
Yeah, so did I at first.
Surprise.
So did I at first. And ironically, my speaking coach was from California. So when I was in June, when I was out in Huntington Beach for the Incredible Dog Challenge, she's like, hey, that's only like 30 minutes. I think I'm going to come watch it. And I was like, okay. And I think that's when it was her idea. She came to the Incredible Dog Challenge and watched. And she's like, this is really cool visually. And again, the people inviting me were more from the production side. So they knew the appeal of agility and fast action and seeing a dog do something. So they decided to make me the first act of the last block, because then we could set all the equipment up before the participants or listeners were allowed to come in the theater. So they gave me a 20 by 50 piece of turf that they provided. Now, think about what that means, everyone. Not much equipment. Right. I had to bring the equipment. They provided the turf. And so to give you a visual, we had 4 pieces of equipment out there. We had the weave poles, a U-shaped tunnel, 1 jump, and 1 tire. And that's all we were able to fit. And I had to give this speech and this demo on 4 pieces of equipment.
At 8.5 months pregnant.
Exactly. So we did a lot of rehearsal and practice on the days leading up to it to make sure that we are going to have kind of the camera angles and that it was going to work out for High Five. I decided to take High Five. We showed the clip of B, and everybody was like, oh, are you bringing B? Are you bringing B? But those of you that know B will know that she is a very, very mouthy, barky Sheltie. Right. And when you're trying to give a speech, having her on stage was probably not going to be the best decision. So High Five, on the other hand, very quiet, like doesn't make a peep. They actually asked me if she would bark on command, and she will not. So I decided to bring High Five because I knew she'd be very well behaved on the stage. Nothing would affect her, and used her for the demo. So I was the first speech talk, if you want to say, to go in the afternoon session on Thursday. And that way, when I was done, they could clear the equipment off and then put everyone else back on. So Ted's kind of known for their famous red dot. And I didn't get the famous red dot because I got the AstroTurf. Yeah. So it was a little bit more,
they couldn't do it for you, right? Because of the demo part. Yeah, it's
a little bit more kind of demo and interactive. And I think more exciting for the crowd than just how they do the blocks, because I'm sure most people haven't attended. It's 90 minutes. So you get about 5 speakers in 90 minutes. So you have it was like 9 to 10:30 in the morning was one speaker group, and then 6 to 7:30 in the evening was the other. So they don't make it a full day of, here, just go sit for 8 hours and listen to speakers. But some of the sessions were just 6 speakers right in a row, and you're just sitting there listening. High Five had the opening act of kind of a little bit more engagement and watching and cheering and seeing. And then the last speaker in my group was a kind of an up and coming musical artist. I'm not sure how we got on TED Sports, but yeah, it's a whole nother thing. But so they kind of ended the whole entire conference with like kind of some music and standing up and, singing and very upbeat way. So we kind of came in with action and went out with action on that last session. So yeah, I had to memorize my speech and run my dog in agility and be pregnant.
Pregnant.
Well, it's crazy. Let me interrupt you. There's so much to unpack here. First of all, congratulations for being selected to do a TED Talk. I think of TED as kind of it's a very human endeavor, right? It's looking at kind of like what makes us human in the way that we intersect with various aspects of the world. And agility is so cool. And this is what I think is what really draws a lot of us to the sport, right? It's not just a human endeavor. It's a human endeavor that we do with an entirely different species that we also share our lives with in a very close, intimate, like familial way, right? Like our dogs are our people and we're their people. So, the experience of dog sport in general, dog agility specifically, is so interesting. And I think it says a lot about the sport, the people in the sport, and of course, Jennifer specifically, that you were invited to this event. So that's first. That's awesome. The next thing is to give people a sense of scale. I had to look this up myself. So I had previously thought of these TED Talks as mostly like existing in the digital space, something you see on YouTube, right? Oh, this talk is really good. It has like 50 million views or whatever, right? Here's a talk on this, here's a talk on that. But what we're hearing from you is like there is a live conference, a live audience, and I've looked it up, and there are people who are paying anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 plus per ticket to come and listen to people like Jennifer speak about to give these presentations, right? And when I looked at revenue, so a little hard to find the exact information, but ProPublica, 2023 revenue exceeded $100 million for the TED Foundation. $100 million, that's in revenue. And their expenses, of course, also just a little bit less than that. And so you're talking about an organization that is handling, over the past several years, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And so in that context, you're like, oh yeah, of course it makes sense that they're flying you around and putting you up at these hotels and you've been assigned coaches and things like that. But it is really a remarkable endeavor. And that's why it's so cool that you're here on this podcast, right? That we're having this podcast and kind of looking, peeking behind the curtain to see what goes into all of that.
Right.
So I think that's really cool. Okay. And then Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the organization themselves is incredible. What they do and everything. And we don't get paid to present. So I was there on like my time for those 4 days, but that's why they treat you so well.
Right.
So we were very nice hotels with very nice meals, but it's not a paid thing, but it exceeded my expectations. Like you said, the organization itself is incredible. The people were incredible. What they're trying to do, their kind of mission and goal in life is very, very exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking about when you were talking earlier, talking about how you felt like, maybe a small fish and stuff like that is I think that, I almost flip it around and turn it around the other way and say that like, yes, agility is very niche, but within agility, like you are, one of the most successful competitors that has ever been in the sport. And if I asked, I don't know, if I asked 20 if I had to ask 20 agility people to name like a water polo Olympian, like I think that a fair number of those 20 wouldn't be able to name one, right? Because that's not what they're into, right? But they would know you and they would know your name. And so it's like, it's just all these different aspects coming together. And it just highlights that in our world, how truly phenomenally successful that you are in this sport, in our sport, and our sport does matter, right? So there's plenty of people that love agility. There's plenty of people that love water polo, it's to each their own,
Well, you touched on it a little bit, Jennifer did, when she was talking about the rights held by Westminster and Fox. Because again, these are multi-year deals. These involve millions of dollars in having events broadcast on television. And with the rise of streaming, right, and old school media kind of falling off a bit in terms of influence, power, money, it is just interesting to see where dog agility is positioned relative to other sports, right, that are also like somewhat new and upcoming in terms of streaming and viewership and different things like that.
Right.
As media kind of figures out what people want to see, and I think there is something about dog agility again that goes back to the very human activity of being and existing and relating to something besides yourself in a way that's different from watching a football game, if that makes sense, or swimming in the Olympics, for example, right? There's a little something extra there, I think, with dogs. So something I think specific to humans and canines being together and doing this thing. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I'm not sure that we ever did on the podcast, and then we had this big long break, is Jen, you just casually threw in there that you're 8.5 months pregnant. Right? So we have not yet talked about this on a podcast.
We have not.
It was an exciting summer.
I am telling you that there are probably, I don't know, a few thousand people listening to this saying, say what now? Because it may feel like to you, Jennifer, and maybe a little bit to us, that surely everybody at this point in the world knows that Jennifer Crank is going to have a baby. And that's why she wasn't at the recent FCI Agility World Championships. We just brought back the Wednesday wrap-up. I just sent that out this past Wednesday, right? And put that in there. So, of course, there's a lot of congratulations coming, emails and things like that, which indicate to me that maybe not everybody knew you were pregnant.
Right.
So can we talk just very briefly about that and what's going on, and maybe letting people know why you weren't at the Agility World Championship, but you had earned an automatic spot.
Right. I was going to say, I wanted to set the stage because Jen had talked with us. We knew that she was pregnant. We had talked about that, and then she tried out for the world team and won an automatic spot. But it was pretty early in the pregnancy, right? So then you were not taking the spot, but also not announcing things. So I'm sure there was lots of speculation, and everybody's like, "Wait, I thought she won a spot. Why isn't she listed on the team?"
Yeah, it was all it all happened. It seems like very quick and very fast, and decisions have to be made, and you never know whether you're making the right decision or the wrong decision. But yes, I am almost due. We're coming up very close here to my due date. And back when tryouts occurred, to be honest, I wasn't sure at that point where things were going to go in terms of the pregnancy. I mean, I think it's easy in hindsight. Pregnancy is such a hard topic in our sport because I think of agility is primarily non-moms, to be honest. And so I think a lot of people don't get it. It's a very hard topic for me to talk about in terms of being a mom and being a parent and having kids around agility, because there's such a hugely negative connotation with kids and parenting around agility. But in hindsight, it was hard. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that look back and were like, well, why were you doing what you're doing? Why were you trying out? Why, if you knew you were pregnant, were you even at tryouts? And it's easy when you're not the pregnant one to say that. But when you are there, especially in my case, I was so early into my pregnancy, there's so many things, there's so many factors that can happen. What if worst case scenario, you lose the baby, right? And then I do go to Europe. What if my doctor says, yeah, you're in great shape, you're in great health, you can go ahead and go to Europe and compete while you're pregnant? What if it's all these what ifs. So it wasn't something that I really wanted to talk about. And it wasn't something that I wanted to get everybody's opinion on, both me trying out and then winning on and then declining. So basically what happened is I just never really talked about it. And that is how we are here with so many people not knowing that I was pregnant. Yes, I won a spot, but as with most of the years of World Team tryouts, there's several weeks, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 weeks that pass from the time that tryouts occurs to when they announce the team. And in today's day and age, in 2025, I mean, if something is 48 hours old, it is old, right? Like after 48 hours, if you do not hit something right then and there, you lose relevance. I mean, they've done a lot of studies and talking about how long something can stay relevant. So my hope was that by the time the team was announced 3 and 4 weeks later, people would sort of kind of forget that I was even on it. And the number of people that never even put 2 and 2 together, even now, is astounding. I had like 2 people, maybe 3 people, when the team was announced, that wrote me and went, "Didn't you have a spot? Why aren't you announced on the roster?" Because when I went home from tryouts, first thing I did was schedule a meeting with my doctor, and I laid everything out. And I'm like, "Look, here's the deal. Here's the timeline. Here's the dates. Here's the progression. Here's how it would all work." Da 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 da. And in a long conversation and meeting with my doctor, we decided it was not best for me and frankly my teammates, to be honest, for me to go over there and take the risk of travel and the training and the wear and tear and what if you know, I want Team USA to have the best chance, and I just thought it was the best decision for me to sit this year out. So I informed management. They knew pretty much, I would say maybe a week to 2 weeks after tryouts, that I was withdrawing, but we did not do a big public withdrawal. It just was that when they announced the team, they announced the team without me. And most, like I said, with the exception of like 2 or 3 people, it just slipped right through the cracks. And that was that. So I have still been competing and still been training and still been doing things local. And so far, haven't really missed anything except Worlds. I will be missing a few things this fall. I was hoping to do Sino Sports and won't go to that. And I was hoping to do ISC Nationals and won't be able to go to that. So those are going to be kind of the 3 big things that I'm missing. But I'm optimistic that I'm back at it in December for the AKC Invitational. I've got airline tickets booked. I've got a hotel room. I'm entered. And I'm hoping to be back at it then. So yeah, we are very excited, welcoming a little girl this time. So I know a lot of people have followed Ethan's journey and his hit or miss interest in agility. I think part of that is being a boy and a sport that is predominantly women. So I'm super optimistic that maybe with a little girl, she'll stay a little bit more interested in it. But whatever she finds, that's what we'll get into. We were just at a flag football game today. That's what Ethan has recently found. So yeah, we are about to become a family of 4.
Well, we want to congratulate you from us. We are so very excited.
That's officially now, finally, yes. 8.5 months in.
Yeah, well, we've told her congratulations privately many times, but no, we're very, very happy for you. And yeah, I think the timing of everything was crazy, but also like if you had, I mean, then this TED Talk thing might not have happened, right? I mean, it's like there's everything happened in such a bizarre sort of timing way.
Yeah. As I said, I really didn't want to accept the TED Talk position or like the presentation because of how far I was. And I just felt like I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no for our sport. I couldn't say no for the fact that this was the first ever TED Sports focus. You know, the fact that they're bringing agility, you know, kind of in. So I was very upfront with them and I'm like, hey, I want to do it. I will do it. But here's the thing. I will be due like 3 weeks after I do this. So if something comes up, I just want you guys to know that, you know, I might have to cancel the last minute. And they're like, that's fine. That's fine. Right. We want you to come. If you have to cancel, we would hate that, but we will. And so my husband went with me to make sure that if there were any issues, and I have had a very, very smooth, very easy pregnancy, no issues, but there was definitely a lot of jokes that week in Indianapolis. You know, we've never had anybody go into labor on the TED stage. That would make that would make for some good entertainment and that kind of stuff. So that kind of made things a little bit more fun. And I don't know that, I mean, the event and the speech and the memorization and the pressure in the crowds were stressful enough that I honestly kind of forgot about the pregnancy. I don't think the pregnancy made it any worse. It was memorizing the speech because they don't do teleprompters and they don't do cue cards.
Wow.
So you have this 10 to 12 or, 10 to 13 minute speech that you have to memorize, and you get no, help or assistance. So you do get to do a rehearsal. And in my case, my rehearsal by my standards did not go well. My coach thought it went fine, but by my standards did not go well. So I asked if I could do a second rehearsal, and they're like, sure. So I came in on one of the lunch breaks on a different day and came in and did a second rehearsal without high five, which went really great. I was really happy. I just walked around Indianapolis reciting my speech for 3 days. I think people thought I was crazy. They'd pass me on the street.
Course. Yeah, it's what you do.
I'd take high five out on walks and talk to myself because I'd say it out loud, because there's difference between saying it in your head. Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, these people are probably walking me and calling the cops. There's this crazy lady out on the lawn of the state house talking to herself with a dog.
And she's super pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it came time, I think it was less than smooth. It did not go as smoothly as I would like it to have gone. But the thing about Ted, that's what my husband's like. The only person that knows you went off script was you. He goes, nobody else knows.
Right.
But there were two places. One, I switched the order of something. So there were two kind of parts, and I did them in the opposite order. And then there was one part where because I then went in the opposite order, when I got back on track, I was like, well, now where am I? And I had to look to my coach, who is off stage, and she gave me a prompt. I was talking about driving. So she acted like she was driving a car, and I was like, oh, okay, got it. I was right back on track. But the thing with all of the TED and why it's not available yet is it all goes through editing. So it all goes through months of review and putting it together. They have 14 cameras when you actually do the talk live throughout the theater from different angles. They actually had me come in on one of the breaks to get some B-roll of high five, weaving and doing the tire, because they'll put those clips in to make it a little bit more exciting. So it's going through editing. We don't have a release date yet. They have told me that mine will probably be one of the earlier ones released, because it was so exciting and thrilling to watch. So when
they want you to be a feature.
Well, when they release them on YouTube, so much of it isn't just listening like a podcast, but it's watching. And it's one of the more catchy ones. The only one that's been released so far is the one with Triple H, if you are a WWE fan. Triple H. So no. Funny. Okay. All right. Triple H.
I know who Triple H is. Yeah.
He was there, and his has been the only one that is released so far, because he was one of the more, famous presenters. Right. So his has come out. But once it comes out, we'll be able to kind of, share it and let people see. But I'm hoping since the production crew is kind of who invited me, I'm like, all right, guys, take good care of me, right? We're friends here. Make me look great. Edit through all of the glitches or all of the stuff. And then it will go out. So I'm happy with the topic and the story, the communication, the information that I was presenting. I just got a little out of order and worried that I kind of rushed things. I have a tendency to talk quite quick. So, but my husband and my coach said it went fine, and they'll edit it and make it seem fine.
I would. So
let's hope.
I'm sure it's fantastic.
Yeah. So I was gonna bring up talking about what the topic was and everything, but we've been going an hour on the whole TED Talk. So it's I'm just gonna leave that for watching the actual TED Talk.
Yeah, I'll add in one thing there, because I will say my understanding when I got asked to do the TED Talk was, it's all about sending a message, right? Even if you go and you ask Siri or Alexa, what's the point of a TED Talk? It's all about, presenting a message, having a strong message, something that you want to communicate. So when my coach first got with me and was like, hey, what do you want to talk about? I was like, well, I don't know. I'm not going to get up there and just explain what agility is, right? That would be easy. I could do that really well. Here's agility. This is what we do, but that's not what TED's about.
Will do that.
Yeah. Right. That's not what TED is. TED's about a message and communicating, and there's got to be kind of a point. And I feel like I worked hard to do that. But then when I sat there in all these other speeches, there were a lot of people that had no message. So I will say I did at least feel good about mine relative to some of the others. There were some very famous people who literally just told their story. And while it was incredible and to hear their story and what they did and what they overcame, there wasn't necessarily a point. Like you got done listening to them and you're like, okay, great. I now know about this person, but what was their message? Like, what were they trying to come to the table with? And then we also had that with a couple of like sports products and like people that were on the up and up with like AI and new evolutions in sport. And they talk about these products and these changes. And again, I was like, okay, great. I learned about XYZ product, but it almost felt like a little bit of a sales pitch. And I did try really hard for there to be a message. And basically what I was trying to convey, just to give a little sneak peek, is what dog agility and dog training has taught me with regard to communication in my everyday life, and how what I've learned about communicating with dogs and understanding how they learn and how they think and how they communicate has helped my relationships in real life. And so kind of the headline was, what can dog agility teach you about your, communication in everyday life, whether it be raising kids or leading a team at work or communicating better with your spouse. So I did feel really good about the fact that I was trying to give a message while also trying to show our sport and educate. But it is, for those of you that want to watch it, be prepared. It is not a tutorial on what is agility or how to do agility. Right. It is really about, kind of what we can learn from agility and apply to everyday life with regard to communication.
Yeah.
I love that. And the academic in me really loves that, because at the end of the day, I think this kind of falls under the acquisition of knowledge. And you have, by virtue of doing this talk, contributed to the knowledge that's out there, right?
In the universe.
It's going to be out there on the internet as well, in the digital universe, hopefully for a very long time. And obviously you stand on the shoulders of the people who came before you, just, for everyone from Pavlov and Skinner and all these behavioral psychologists to all these amazing dog trainers. And you kind of stand at the pinnacle there. And then you push that knowledge just a little bit more with your own personal experiences in the sport, what you've been able to do, and how you share all of that with an audience that is not necessarily familiar with dog agility in the way that everyone listening to this podcast is, right? And so you kind of advance the knowledge, human knowledge, right, so to speak. So, I find that highly commendable, and I am super impressed, and I'm so glad that you were there, certainly representing us as a sport, and, of course, bad dog agility. I also wanted to back up a little bit and say that certainly you are not the first woman to have apprehension around being pregnant and announcing a pregnancy and wondering about the impact that it's going to have on everything. Like if we take a step back and we say, okay, well, dog agility is Jennifer's, not life, but maybe career profession, right? That pregnancy has not always been a welcome thing to employers or to the workplace. And so I'm so happy that the TED people were just like, that is no problem at all. We're gonna roll with this and support you in any way that we can. So I am super impressed to hear that, right? And to me, that seems very much in line with their mission, right? And their focus on humanity and the betterment of. And of course, we as Bad Dog Agility are so excited and thrilled. And our people are so supportive of you, obviously, and excited to welcome this little girl into the family.
We're going to be making Bad Dog Agility onesies and everything. You're gonna have stuff just show up on your doorstep going on, because not only do I love Jen, I also love babies. So.
Oh yeah, Jared does love babies.
Well, she will be getting her very first trip at 9 weeks old, 10 weeks old, somewhere 8 weeks old, depending on when exactly I have her to the invitational. So we are not delaying an introduction into the agility world.
And that was Isaac's first show.
I was going to say, I told Jen this earlier, but I hadn't I didn't have her due date so firmly stuck in my head, but like you're here in the next like week or so, right? So kind of early August, early October, right? Isaac was born October 29th. And the first big trial that I took him to was also the invitational. And I remember,
in Florida.
Yeah, I remember like going in Florida. I think Florida.
They moved from Long Beach at that point.
Yeah. And I remember like going underneath the stands to like nurse and stuff like that. So.
The whole family's coming. My husband will use up some of his paternity leave to come down and help me. And then Ethan is showing in the juniors. So Ethan will be competing on Friday in the juniors, and then I'll be showing with B. So yeah, we're not delaying an introduction into the agility world. We're going to get right there into it. And
I guess I should specify now that you say that I went to the invitational because Esteban was competing in it. I did not compete in the invitational. No, I don't.
I know some years you ran because some years I was doing doctor stuff.
I ran our Rottweiler 1 year because you couldn't do it for doctor stuff, but all the rest of them you ran. So the invitational, I was there as kennel help, even though I was, also taking care of an 8-week baby, I guess, just always there together. But.
So if anybody will be there, you will see us.
I'll be so jealous. I'll be so jealous of the people that get to meet her before I get to meet her. Probably nationals. I'll get to meet the baby. And I've already told.
I don't know. Jen, that trip is a little longer. We don't know about that true. One. California this year.
But if you need help, you'll have me there. So I will hold that baby anytime you need me to.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I am so excited for you. I'm excited for you about this TED Talk. I can't wait to see it. I think it's super cool. And we didn't really prep for this podcast because, we just wanted to hear what Jen had to say. So I didn't know about any of this stuff about the TED Talk. It's pretty crazy stuff. So really cool that you got to have that experience.
Very stressful. Somebody asked me, do I regret doing it? No, I don't regret doing it. Would I do it again? Yes, I would do it again. But I think it took like 15 years off my life. I was a nervous wreck. My husband's like, I've never seen you this nervous ever in the context of any aspect of life. So.
Okay, wait, last question then. Was it like, how sometimes like you'll be really nervous for a run, but once you get past obstacle 1, you're fine? It was not
like that at all. It was not like that.
You were like stressed the whole time you were on the stage?
Yeah, you're on the stage. There's this clock counting down because you're not supposed to go over the time limit. So there's this massive red clock counting down. Lights, I said 14 cameras everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like you had a makeup artist, you had a dressing room, you were mic'd. So no, it's not like once I started talking, I was relaxed. I was nervous the entire time.
Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, congratulations.
Thank you. And we'll let you know when it gets posted and available for everyone to watch.
Excellent. All right. And that's it for this week's podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Canine Handler Fitness with Liz Joyce and Clip and Go Agility. Happy training.
Thank you for listening to Bad Dog Agility. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, updates, and links to all our socials, just check out our website, www.baddogagility.com. If you haven't already signed up for our email subscription, we would love to have you join the BDA community. Until next time, take care.